As you might have guessed by now, I am inspired by cooks everywhere, by many cooks. I'm especially inspired by those who think outside the box. And yes, I'm a little partial to cooking that I have picked up from Jamaica. This dish was inspired by a Jamaican dish called pepper pot soup. The two main ingredients are spinach and, of course, coconut milk. And there are other things too. Now, just to be clear, I do not profess to have a dish equating to the authentic pepper pot soup. In mine, for example, I use chopped ham, sautéed with onions and seasoning, and I also used pigtail. Please don't equate my dish with the original, authentic pepper pot soup of Jamaica. But I will say this, mine turned out to be very delicious. After the first bowl, I had to have a second. Okay, this is what I did. I did not use pork that was already salted, so in very salted water I added the pigtail. Now, if you're going to use pigtail that's already salted, then you're going to have to remove as much of the salt as you can. Once that happened, once I had the pigtail in the water, of course, I brought it to a boil. And this, after 2 hours, this is what it looked like. I boiled it for 2 hours, okay? And then it set that aside. As for the water, I threw that down the drain. Boiling the pork for 2 hours, that was the end of phase 1. Then we went on to phase 2. A dab of butter in my frying pan, and here I use butter because, quite frankly, I didn't need to get it really super hot. My stove was on medium, and that was good enough. And as you know, I prefer to use butter as opposed to that other stuff. Other stuff meaning margarine. I don't use margarine. Do you know what's in butter? Butter. Do you know what's in margarine? I don't either. Anyway, I added my seasoning, thyme, a little bit of Italian seasoning. I also added some black pepper. Now is a great time to add any seasoning that you like. Remember, I'm always saying this. I think cooking is a creative process, and I think that it is also a personal, artistic form. A personal, artistic expression. Don't you agree? Because you can do something, you can make it just the way you like it. Anyway, on we go. Once my onions were cooked, well, not cooked, but clear anyway, then what I did was I added some chopped ham. And really, once the chopped ham went in, and remember, I've seasoned it the way I like it, so it is really onion, all my seasoning, chopped ham. Now this is in phase 2, okay? Come to think of it, this is a meal unto itself, isn't it? Chopped ham, sautéed in butter, and there you have something for a sandwich. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. The next thing was I added some frozen spinach. By the way, this spinach, this is a cheap way of buying spinach. It's $1 for a bag of spinach, and it's also a lazy way to buy spinach. A better way would have been to, instead of adding frozen spinach, just get fresh spinach and cut them up the way that I would like to cut them up. Anyway, the lid goes on, of course, and once the spinach has been integrated into the ham and the onions and everything is back up to temperature, then that's the end of that phase. Now what we need to do now is to add, you remember the pigtail that we had from earlier? Then we add the pigtail. There you go. The pigtail is added to my pot with the spinach, ham, and onions. And in addition to that, of course, I mixed everything well, but you can't be too vigorous in your mixing here, because don't forget, the pigtail is already cooked. So if you get too vigorous, it's going to fall apart. Then I added the coconut milk to the spinach and to everything else. Now, keep in mind that it's cold in my kitchen, So the coconut milk looks like this. Don't be alarmed. It's okay. It's just that coconut milk will do that from a cold kitchen, okay? If you want it to pour, perhaps you should you can put it in warm water. Anyway, the coconut milk goes in, and everything is in now, and I just want it to simmer for a little while. Now, this next operation is very important. Everything comes to a boil, as you can see, and then I put the lid on, and I'm going to let it simmer for about 30 minutes. That's about it, with the lid on. You may want to exercise your creativity, and if it is too thick, then you may want to add some boiling water to it to make it thinner. After 30 minutes, of course, it's all done. That's your cooking. It's all done. All you have to do now is to serve it. By the way, I did something, shall we say, something in keeping with my style of cooking, which I'll explain to you later. But what I did was I served my dish on English muffin. I just put it on a plate. Instead of drinking it as a soup, just place it on English muffin, and then I enjoyed it. As I said earlier, it was so very good. I mean, it was excellent. I had to go back for seconds. I hope you enjoy this, and don't forget to keep your comments and your suggestions coming in. Now, I want to share a little secret with you. Are you ready for this? 2 secrets, actually. First of all, I was a little concerned about how this dish may turn out. That's the first secret. But I was very confident that would be delicious. The second secret that I wanted to share with you is this. When I placed this into the pot to cook for 2 hours, I wanted to add something that would reflect me and my taste. Something that would actually say Microdac. So I added a Scotch bonnet pepper, a whole, uncut Scotch bonnet pepper. Now, what I should have done perhaps is to add half of a Scotch bonnet pepper that was cut. Of course, after 2 hours, I simply removed it from the water, as I told you before, and that was the end of that, and I went on to cook. In the end, the result was really, really very good.